The day began like any other, with the familiar hum of hospital life enveloping me as I donned my white coat and prepared for my shift. As the head of the emergency department, I was accustomed to the whirlwind of cases that each day presented. However, nothing could have prepared me for the moment when 3 stretchers were rushed in, each bearing a face etched into my heart: my husband, my sister, and my son, all unconscious. Time seemed to freeze as I stood there, the world around me blurring into a cacophony of alarms and urgent voices. My professional instincts kicked in, propelling me into action despite the turmoil within. I directed my team with a clarity that belied the storm raging inside me, assigning each to a different trauma bay and ensuring that every protocol was followed to the letter. As I moved between the bays, I couldn't help but notice the eerily similar symptoms they exhibited: labored breathing, fluctuating vital signs, and unresponsive pupils. The possibility of a shared cause loomed large, and I ordered a battery of tests to uncover the culprit. Blood samples were drawn, imaging was conducted, and toxicology screens were expedited. Hours passed in a haze of medical procedures and anxious waiting. The preliminary results pointed towards a common toxin, but its source remained elusive. I racked my brain, trying to recall any recent events or exposures that could link them together. Then, a fragment of a conversation surfaced: a family gathering at our home the previous evening, where my sister had brought a new dish she was excited to share. Could it be food poisoning? I delved deeper, questioning the staff who had attended the gathering and examining the leftovers that had been stored. Samples were sent to the lab, and I awaited the results with bated breath. Meanwhile, my family's conditions remained critical. My husband was placed on a ventilator, my sister's heart rhythm was erratic, and my son was experiencing seizures. The weight of helplessness pressed down on me, but I couldn't afford to falter. I had to be their advocate, their protector, and their healer. Finally, the lab results returned, confirming the presence of a rare neurotoxin in the food samples. It was a substance not commonly encountered, often found in certain exotic mushrooms. The realization hit me like a tidal wave: an innocent culinary experiment had turned into a life-threatening ordeal. Armed with this knowledge, we initiated targeted treatments, administering antitoxins and supportive care. The road to recovery would be long and fraught with challenges, but there was a glimmer of hope. As I sat by their bedsides, holding their hands and whispering words of encouragement, I vowed to see them through this nightmare. The next 48 hours blurred into each other. I didn't sleep, barely ate, and only left the ICU when absolutely necessary. My entire world was now confined to 3 adjacent beds, machines beeping in rhythm with my panic, monitors glowing with both hope and heartbreak. My colleagues offered support, stepping up when I faltered, but no one could replace the feeling of helplessness inside me. I was a doctor, used to fixing things, solving problems, and saving lives. But these were my people lying unconscious. Every medical decision I made felt like walking on a tightrope stretched over fire. My son, Zion, was the first to show small signs of improvement. His seizures had subsided, and though still unconscious, his brain scans showed no permanent damage. It was like my chest, which had been gripped by steel hands, loosened a bit. I held his small hand in mine and whispered stories into his ears, about how he wanted to be a firefighter, about the time he lost his first tooth, how he danced in the rain just last week. I needed to believe that somewhere inside, he could hear me. My sister, Alina, remained unresponsive. Her heart was stabilized but her breathing was shallow. The woman who had once been the brightest spark in any room, who never missed a chance to tease me or lift my spirits, now lay cold, still, and ghost-like. I couldn't understand why her body was responding slower. She was younger than me, healthier, energetic. Maybe it was the portion she had, or maybe it was fate mocking us. Then there was Imran, my husband. The man I'd shared a home with for over a decade. He was a man of deep silences and sudden laughter. He was my calm, my anchor. But now, he was hooked up to a ventilator, machines doing the work his body refused to. There were no signs of brain activity yet. No movement. No reflex. Only a steady beep that told me he was still here, just barely. I reviewed the toxicology report again. The neurotoxin came from a rare type of mushroom commonly found in East Asia. Not something we'd find in a typical grocery store. Someone must have brought it intentionally. But who? And why? A part of me wanted to ignore the questions. Just focus on healing. But I couldn't. I was a doctor. And a mother. And a sister. And a wife. And if this was deliberate, someone needed to answer for it. Then came the unexpected breakthrough. One of the nurses, while taking inventory of leftover food samples I had asked to be preserved, noticed something strange. The mushroom dish wasn't entirely eaten. In fact, only one of the servings had those toxic mushrooms. The rest were fine. That meant it wasn't a cooking accident, it was targeted. My heart froze. Someone poisoned just one plate. But all three, my son, sister, and husband, shared it. I needed clarity. I contacted the lab again and requested DNA samples from the dish to determine whose plate the poisoned mushrooms were on. It was a stretch, but modern forensics had made miracles happen before. While waiting for the lab results, I did something I hadn't done in days. I went home. The house was hauntingly quiet. Zion's toys were still on the carpet. Alina's jacket was hanging over the dining chair. And the half-eaten mushroom dish was still wrapped in the fridge, waiting to be tested. I walked into the kitchen, trying to recall the exact details of that dinner. Alina had insisted on cooking. She said she bought the ingredients from an exotic food market she recently discovered online. Imran had been skeptical. He always preferred simple food, but he gave in when Zion got excited. We had laughed that night. Talked about taking a vacation. Imran had even kissed my forehead before heading upstairs. And now they were all in hospital beds, fighting for their lives. The next morning, I got the call. The poison had only been placed in one dish. The portion meant for me. My knees buckled. I sat in the hallway outside the lab, unable to breathe. I was the target. But why? And then, like a slow avalanche, memories started to fall into place. Conversations. Glances. A strange tension I had ignored. Alina had been staying with us for a few weeks after her breakup. I thought it was to recover from heartbreak. But maybe it was more. And Imran, he had been distant lately. Preoccupied. I assumed it was work stress. But what if? I pushed the thought away. No. They would never. Or would they? Another knock of reality came when Zion woke up, finally. His eyes fluttered open slowly. I was beside him in an instant, brushing his hair back, barely able to contain my tears. "Mama," he whispered, weak but conscious. "Why were you screaming that night?" My world paused. What do you mean, sweetheart?" I asked softly. "I woke up. I heard you cry. Then Baba and Kala were fighting. In the kitchen. Then they gave me juice. And then. I felt sleepy. A chill ran through me like ice water. They were fighting. I checked the hospital's security footage. I had earlier brushed it off because it was just family arriving via ambulance, but now I needed answers. Footage from the ER parking lot showed something terrifying: Alina's car skidding into the emergency bay, crashing against a pole. None of them were conscious. No driver among them. Then I checked the footage from our house's doorbell cam. There, just hours before they were brought in, I saw it. Imran and Alina arguing on the porch. She was crying. He grabbed her shoulders roughly. She slapped him. Then, they went inside. I couldn't hear what was said. But it was clear, something had happened that night. Something dark. The final truth came when I reviewed Imran's phone, which I had taken from the hospital's security box. The password was easy: my birthday. Messages between him and Alina confirmed it. They were having an affair. It had started months ago. Behind my back. Under my roof. Alina wanted me out of the picture. She had researched the mushrooms. Ordered them online. She cooked the dish and served it specifically to me. Imran had found out, last minute. A fight broke out in the kitchen. He tried to stop her. Zion, curious and thirsty, took the juice she had poisoned to help it digest faster. Imran, in an attempt to protect me, forced Alina to eat some of the mushrooms too, to stop her from hurting anyone else. It spiraled. All three consumed enough to collapse. The pieces aligned in place like a tragic puzzle. I sat alone in the hospital chapel that night. The people I loved most had betrayed me, and also saved me. Imran was still unconscious. But I didn't know what I'd say to him if he woke up. Alina never did. Her heart gave out the next day. Zion eventually recovered fully. I chose to tell him only parts of the story, enough for a child to understand that some adults make very bad decisions, but love can still protect us in strange ways. Imran woke up a week later. He cried the moment he saw me. But I didn't hold his hand. I didn't shout either. I just said, "You saved me. But you also broke me." He understood. We didn't stay together. Some wounds don't heal. But I had my son. And I had the truth. And that was enough to start again. The end.